Welcome back to Talk Commerce, where we dive deep into the world of Magento and e-commerce. I'm your host, Brent Peterson, and we're continuing our special episode with the insightful Matthias Schreiber. In the first part of our discussion, we explored Magento's current landscape, its community, and some of the challenges it faces. If you missed that, I highly recommend going back and giving it a listen. Now, in this exciting second part, we're shifting gears to focus on the collaboration and innovation within the Magento community. We'll be talking about the synergy between different entities involved in Magento and how they come together to shape the future of e-commerce. So let's jump right back into our conversation with Matthias and uncover more about what's up with Magento. Remember to go to Meet Magento Florida to check out the session we are hosting on the roadmap for Magento Open-Source. Go to meetmagentofl.com. But first, a word from our sponsor.
Are you lost in the content creation chaos, struggling under the burden of high costs and complications? Does the thought of regular content posting make you break out in hives? We feel your pain, but don't despair. Your content hero has arrived. Introducing Content Basis, delivering unparalleled content creation and scheduling solutions crafted specifically for your audience and needs. Harnessing the power of AI, we efficiently deliver on-point content every time. Our US-based team meticulously reviews each piece, ensuring authenticity and precision. We value your unique voice and insights. You direct the final shape while we handle ideation to execution. With auto-scheduling, your content always finds its audience. And with bi-weekly check-ins, our strategies sync with your vision. At Content Basis, we're your dedicated ally in the content battlefield. From ideation to posting, we've got your content journey covered. Visit contentbasis.io and say goodbye to content chaos today. That's contentbasis.io.
Let's go into I'd like to talk about the three different entities that are involved in our community and think about how we can engage people to come up with solutions to help us work together.
Yeah.
I like your idea of not dwelling anything on the past. What the past has done is done, but let's look forward and see about how can we work together with the three entities. And we have Meet Magento Florida coming up, where we have a place to have some dialogue about this even. But let's discuss that. I want to point out too that recently there was a merger announced between Alaska Airlines and Hawaiian Airlines, and I think Alaska is buying Hawaiian for $1.9 billion. If we look back on how much Adobe paid for Magento, I think it was $1.8 billion. So the impact on the ecosystem is big, right? Like, it was a big transaction, and there's a lot of things that happen. So we have to recognize that Adobe made a significant investment in Magento, and they have their own ideas of where they'd like it to go.
Well, I also think, but this is just a theory, so welcome to conspiracy land now. I don't believe open source and adopting a community was part of the sales pitch. I genuinely don't believe that. Maybe it was. Then everything's cool. But it feels to me like Adobe bought a company plus a product, and suddenly people take Adobe's view here for a sec. Suddenly people show up out of nowhere. They're like, hey, by the way, we are the Magento community. Here's a list of demands, and let's talk. And you go like, who are you? Like, didn't we bought like a trademark and a company, and we got all the employees, but who's that? That little bit. That's how it feels, and Also, I think the time frames or the time spans that we're talking about here with merging such big deals, that's no discussion you have over a steak and a beer on a weekend. It's like $1.8 billion. There's like I would assume that at least the legal due diligence was half a year minimum, and then I would take like COVID. Even if we take COVID out of this whole equation and cut the Adobe merger to now, and we cut out those 2 years or something, I still think that Adobe is moving way faster than I would have anticipated. So I also had this. That's also what I told Kalen in his podcast. Is like, imagine you're going to a supermarket and you buy an apple, and then you start eating the apple on the way to the parking lot, and somebody keeps running to you and saying like, sir, can I get the seeds? And you're like, who are you? What do you want from me? And then you start explaining, well, if we take the seeds, then we can plant a tree, and we can give you like the harvest from the tree later, and it's a super great investment. And you sit there, dude, I just want to eat my apple. I bought it. It's mine. I can do whatever the frick I want with it. You know, like this is and this is like this analogy or this picture in my head that I have of how all this is going. Yeah, this is that's how I see the Adobe side of things. On the other end of the spectrum, I understand the frustration of the people that made MageOS happen, because there was like super passionate people from this end of the spectrum smacking their heads into super tough business people, which maybe or maybe not, but I know a couple of people in management positions that are similar to that, and they basically care about the numbers they signed to reach in terms of revenue, in terms of profit, whatever, because they are hired to do that. It's their profession. And I completely understand that if you get hired in this specific area of expertise, that you try to fulfill that goal and the plan that you set out to achieve like 2, 3, maybe 5 years ago. So the overall picture is just a lot bigger, and of course this I can understand that it feels dismissive to people that try to explain using the seeds would be better than you just swallowing the apple and then throwing the trash in the bin. So I can completely relate why such a thing happens. So that's like, I get where they're coming from. I think in the situation we have now, it's not that necessary anymore. Or at least I think it's less necessary than, say, a year or 1.5 years ago. But you can't predict the future. And also we have to see that things like what's happening in MageOS, that stuff has been started like 2-3 years ago. Ish, something along those lines. It's a long time, and forming an association also takes a long time. So these things were set in motion way before I came in, for example. So,
all right, I'm going to ask you a question and see if you can help me here. How do you feel that each of these entities is going to align themselves in a way that's productive for each of the others? So we shouldn't have one thing that competes against each other. Each should be complementary to itself. And I'll point out events. I think that you pointed out Magento Association is going to be in charge of events. MageOS shouldn't be in charge of events, something like that. But at a high level, do you have any of that mapped out in your head? And
well,
can you share any with that?
Well, so here's Matthias 100% wishful thinking. It's maybe even better. So Damien Ratzinger in New York asked a really interesting question. He said, if you, as the executive director of Magento Association, had $50 million today, what would you do? And I gave it some thought, and it's like, and he asked me on the spot. He was like, you have 30 seconds to think about it. That's how Damien is. Love it, to be honest. So I would hire quite a lot of people, 50% being software engineers, so that we can get the open source code stuff going, because there's basically two types of work to open source. There's the, here I contribute code back, and then there's the, I have the architectural overview, and I will write the tests for you, and if the tests fail because they're like unstable, which most front-end integration tests are, that's just how it is, I will make sure to run them a couple times to see if it's a real problem, or if the test suite hung up, those kind of things. Then I would like to have people who take a look at publicly reported bugs, because reporting a bug is also contribution in my eyes. Because you're a merchant, you're using the software, you're clicking a button, something doesn't work. Now you can stick your hand in the sand and go like, okay, I don't care. But somebody took the effort to make a GitHub account, to open an issue, to contribute back and say, hey, I found something that doesn't work and I'm not able to fix it. That's contribution. And I would like to have people in charge who help answering those requests and being a good sport towards the merchants. I would like to have people who are running around all kinds of events, not just Meet Magentos or Adobe Summit or whatever events there, but also at all the other e-commerce conferences, to basically say, hey, yes, there's Adobe Commerce, we all know that, but Magento is still here, so we need people out there talking about these things. I would like to have people who create a certification program, not only for developers, but also for the merchants. Because a person working at a merchant maintaining the Magento store right now, it's good for their CV if they have a certificate to show as well. And I think that Magento as a whole has some sort of responsibility towards those people. And say that we get into a dire situation with economy, having such a certificate can be the difference between letting go and not being let go, or having sort of a career opportunity at some point. So this is where I think that would be really, really good. And of course, I would like to have people create proper documentation. I would like to have people create YouTube videos, as for developers, but also for merchants, how to do certain things, and basically market the product proper. So that would be my ideal scenario. I don't think we need $50 million for that, but I think we can get started with maybe 3 to 5 annually to get something like that going. And as you said, $1.8 billion shows we in Germany would say there's music in the project. There's something you can dance to. So there's a lot of momentum and people. Yeah. So that would be ideal.
Okay, so the reality right now is that MageOS is there and it's here to stay. And how do you feel their role will be going forward, and how can Magento Association and MageOS work together more?
So we are actively collaborating on merchant documentation, for example. So there's an amazing guy, David Lambauer, who started using AI to write merchant-focused documentation. How do I create a tax group? How many attributes can I put onto a product? Those kind of things. And this documentation is primarily geared towards MageOS, because that's where David found his his home for his heart, so to speak, or for his passion. But we figured that this applies to Magento as well, and MageOS at least at this point in time is almost identical. There's a different logo on the top, and a couple colors might be off, but the general inner workings are the same, and are also supposed to remain the same. So instead of having the merchant documentation on MageOS and the same documentation somewhere in the Magento field, which would result in duplicate content, and then we would downrank each other, we decided, hey, let's just use one domain for this, which we could maybe even use to SEO rank and lift Magento and MageOS at the same time in terms of online search engine discoverability. I think that's the word. This is what we can actively do together. There's also one thing to keep in mind is that MageOS is mostly developers, people who are coming from a development background, who don't or didn't, depends on who you ask, feel heard enough by Adobe. It's like, hey, I have a great idea. I want to build this. Who do I talk to? Who can I brainstorm this back and forth with? And there's no process for such a thing at Adobe yet. And we're working on creating such a process. But such a process needs to be signed off by some manager, which needs to get that signed off by his manager, and then the next manager and the next manager to get it's a huge company, and they have to abide to certain rules, and some of those rules are given by the feds. This is not some arbitrary decision somebody at Adobe takes or something. So biggest and best example to me is the roadmap. So why is there no public roadmap how the product will change in the future over the course of the next 5 years, let's say? Well, you can't put this out because that's insider information, and it might alter with your stock market prices. It's not so easy. And this is not some person at Adobe deciding, oh, we don't give them a roadmap because we don't wanna. So, no, they're not allowed to. And to me, that's totally different. So dealing with a publicly traded company is not as easy or simple as it might feel. So the most of the manpower behind MageOS is developer driven. Absolutely. So a lot of people who are not happy with how Adobe did things in the past, or still not happy how it works now. And like I said, I can get all that. And they are basically looking to get Magento to a spot where they think it should be. Modern technology, rewriting stuff. There's a lot of refactorings that could or could not be necessary. Those kind of things. So that's a real strong point of MageOS. I didn't see too much of the business side yet. Disclaimer: I'm not super deep into MageOS, because that's what the MageOS Association needs to do, and I, at this point in time, didn't see any need to dig into that, because to me it's friends doing their thing, etc. So the business side of things, I didn't see a lot yet, which doesn't mean they don't have it up their sleeves and maybe are preparing all this kind of thing. Could all be possible. I don't know. In terms of events, I still think that Magento as a trademark is strong globally. And I think one of the biggest concerns, or not concerns, but complaints that a lot of people have is this ad campaign that used to run Magento is now Adobe Commerce. That didn't kill Magento, did it? So this is something. The brand Magento in itself is strong. The Meet Magento events are strong. I think we had a great year so far with all the events that I was able to attend. I think I missed 3. India, UK, and Indonesia. Those were the ones I didn't manage to come. And Florida, the first Florida one must have been amazing. But I'm definitely going to the next one. So this is just stuff that it's not an opinion whether you can run a Meet Magento event. It's illegal to use the name, period. And that's not because Adobe makes it illegal. That's because international trademark laws make it illegal. So here's the thing about trademark laws. If you own the trademark to Brent's podcast and you register it, and I start using Brent's podcast as a trademark for something completely different, you have to take that from me. Because if you don't, you lose your trademark. Because trademarks have to be enforced. That's just international law. That's how it works. So what Magento or what Meet Magento, the trademark is that we are a sub-licensee. Adobe asked us, hey, we would rather have Magento Association talk to the people that are currently without written license agreement use that trademark, than have our copyright and trademark team do it, because those are, without talking shit about lawyers, but that are just lawyers. They don't care how much you did for the community. They don't care how long you've worked for Magento or Adobe. It doesn't matter to them. Like, trademark usage, illegal, lawsuit. That's their way of thinking. They're hired to do that. And so these are things that we are currently doing, because Adobe just said, hey, your turn.
All right, so we have a few minutes left here. You're in a unique position where you're connecting to Adobe, but you're also connecting to MageOS. Do you think there has to be a roundabout group where the MageOS connects directly with Adobe now to kind of make this trifecta into something that seems cohesive?
Ideally, I'd like to have the MageOS be something like an incubator. Test out stuff, see if it works, and Adobe because Adobe is still the final gatekeeper over the source code. And if you want to just get stuff merged and get it out there, MageOS seems like a really, really viable solution to me. However, I don't know if big companies will jump on that train. I just don't know. From some talks I had, there's a trust issue, which has nothing to do with people. This just has to do with size. And people go like, well, they say it's the same, but I don't have the time to check the source code whether it is the same. I don't know. And somebody in New York said something like, if they have 2,000 merchants on it, then that's enough trust for me. Right? And I don't the other way around. I do trust Vinay. I do trust Simon and Ivan and all the people that are writing code for it. But that's just it. It's I cannot personally vouch for it. And if somebody decides that they wait until there's 2,000 merchants on it, proven 2,000 merchants, that's a trust thing that they just need to overcome. But that comes with time. Rome wasn't built in a day either. I still think it would be better to have all of the MageOS people go nuts in the MageOS code base, but at the same time help out with the Magento code base, which by design runs a slower approach to merging stuff. And I can relate. In Adobe's position, I don't want to get sued over some bug that somebody introduced, because in the end they are liable for everything that goes in. So I understand why they are moving comparatively slow in terms of merging stuff, and they take like extra care with merges. I get it. Makes sense to me. Did this answer the question?
Well,
I don't know.
No, that's good. Yeah. We're going to have to pick this up again. I think there's a lot of topics to discuss here. I will be at Meet Magento Florida, so I'm going to suggest that maybe we have a little podcasting booth there that we can record some conversations, and it would be interesting to get some pre-done questions where we get people to contribute in terms of, here's my questions about the community.
That would be awesome.
Here's my thoughts and ideas about the community. Here's my concerns about the community, and really have a place where we can air that. But I do feel as though the biggest thing I've learned out of my, let's call it A/B testing, was let's be positive, right? Let's think of solutions to move forward. And if you are the person poking the hornet's nest, let's not just poke, but let's come up with a solution along with the poking, right? Yep. I think that one of the things that bugs me in community is when people point out something that's wrong or bad, but they don't point out what is the solution around that, or here's my ideas to help solve this problem. I think and I know there's always going to be people that are just going to raise their hand and say, this is a problem. I don't know how to solve it, but I want to tell you it's a problem, right?
I dislike those people. What I value though is people that come up to me and so, this is messed up. I don't know how. This is why it's messed up. I don't know how to solve it, but I'm willing to provide my brain capacity with people who are just thinking about it. I'm willing to participate in a brainstorming about that, because those people did their research because they know what sucks and why it sucks. And now other people can chime into the whole discussion and come like, hey, okay, so how about if we do that? Throw an idea out and ask the people that complained earlier to try and shut this idea down. Just to figure out, does it work, does it not work? And if they're not able to shut it down within a couple minutes, that's a possible solution to move forward really, really quickly.
Yeah, that's great. Matthias, it's been a great conversation today. I really appreciate you taking the time, and we'll come up with some more topics to speak about in the future. And I do feel as though this idea of a panel was informative and important that we had in New York. That whole idea should be brought forward continuously to have the community talk in
regular,
public. Yeah. If
I will
it's
talk to Ravi and Nicole about that.
Yeah, excellent.
That might be good.
Good. I will put all this in the show notes. This is the second part of the episode as we close out this part of it. But thank you so much for being here.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
In the ever-evolving retail landscape, one platform is changing the game, ushering in a retail renaissance that puts relationships at the forefront. Welcome to Endear. Endear is a CRM built for omni-channel brands, empowering them with the consumer data to deliver a personalized, efficient customer experience that drives sales and retention. Imagine a tool that intuitively understands your customers' needs, giving your brand a remarkable edge. Don't believe us? Geronimo from Rebag says, I've used every CRM from Salesforce down, and Endear is the best one I've found for us. With Endear, your team isn't just selling products and crafting stories that resonate, nurturing connections that last. It's not just a CRM. It's a tool that empowers your sales associates to make personalized connections, bridging brands and customers like never before. Ready to redefine retail clienteling with a platform trusted by hundreds of omni-channel brands around the globe? Request your Endear demo today and enter a future of enriched connections and unparalleled customer loyalty.
Thank you for making it to the end of this episode of Talk Commerce. Please rate this episode wherever you download your podcasts. We are actively looking for people to participate in the Free Joke Project. Go to talk-commerce.com and sign up for your free spot on the Free Joke Project. If you are a business, I will do a 30-second elevator pitch in the spot to help promote your business. That's talk-commerce.com. High quality